Let's talk Tanya for the 25th of Teves. Yesterday we spoke about Avodah, the importance of internal work and trying to refine ourselves and make our emotions and feelings holier. Following on that, the Alter Rebbe, in this chapter which we're starting today, chapter 16, the Alter Rebbe is going to introduce two very important principles. And he actually introduces them as such. He calls them a klal gadol, which means a fundamental idea, a fundamental principle. And when the Alter Rebbe says that, we should pay attention. Only 3 times throughout Tanya does Alter Rebbe introduce an idea by saying it's a klal gadol. 2 of them are in this chapter, are in chapter 16. What are those 2 rules? Before we get to them, let's back up a little. We know that the entirety of Tanya is based on the pasuk Kikarev Elecha Hadavar Miyoid Beficha V'Vavcha L'Asaisei. The pasuk which says that Moshe says to the Jewish people, the Torah and the mitzvahs that I'm giving you is practical. You can do it. Every single one of you can do it. You can do it in your hearts. You can do it. Those things that require action. Those things that require speech. And the obvious question is, how's that? It seems very difficult. And up until this point, the basic answer that Tanya has given, the Alter Rebbe has given us, is Mayach Shalt Alalev. The mind has the ability to control the heart. So since the godly soul is in the mind, animal soul is in the heart, we can win the battle. But it's hard. It's hard. And that creates an unbearable tension and strain. When there's this constant battle going on between the mind and the heart, and for the mind to be victorious constantly is very difficult. And therefore the Alter Rebbe says, the first big rule is the importance of using the mind, not only to overrule and to veto the heart, but to use the mind to do avodah, that which we're speaking about in the last few days, to do the internal work to actually generate and create feelings, passion, love, appreciation for God, for Torah, for mitzvahs. It makes all the difference in the world. It reduces the tension. It creates emotional congruency. What you're doing is you're bringing your heart in line with the mind. Are we going to succeed all the way? We already found out the answer to that is no, unless we're able to become a tzaddik. But still, as we learn to heat tzaddik, every single one of us has to work on that and try to become a tzaddik, try to refine ourselves, even if we never actually get there. And this is called, by many, the long way. Because Tanya, ultimately, in terms of telling us how we're able to win the battle against the animal soul, the Alter Rebbe gives us 2 different strategies. The first strategy, which is what we're talking about right now, is referred to by many as the long way. And the long way entails using the mind and contemplating and meditating in order to be able to shape the heart and change our feelings. It's called the long way because it's not something which happens instantaneously, because real internal change takes time. But ultimately, the result of doing that is much more sustainable and lasting, because you're actually creating a change within yourself. And this, in a nutshell, is Chabad. We know we identify as Chabad Chasidism. What is Chabad? Chabad is Chachma Bina Das, is the intellect. Is that because we're big intellectuals? No, not necessarily. It's because at the core of Chabad is using the mind to actually refine oneself, to become a holier person, and change one's emotions, change one's feelings. That is the big rule. The big rule in the service of Hashem for Rabbeinu, use the mind to create feelings, to create holy feelings. What is the second big rule that Alter Rebbe introduces? So the Alter Rebbe starts talking about that in today's Tanya, continues on it in tomorrow's Tanya, and we will talk about it, God willing, in tomorrow's Tanya.